Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradha.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradha.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjan.
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana.
Please mute everyone.
Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachara. Yamunatira Vanachara. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Jaya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivacharya Stotara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasavadaya Shimadi Tamo Krishna Vasanti Namaya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasavadaya Shimadi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaya Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Gujami Visheshwani Adipasita Distari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Prashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Hare Krishna devotees. We are going to read from Canto 3 again, the status quo, Chapter 1, questions by Vidura. We are now looking at verse 16. Okay, so I will chant the verse and then read the translation and purport, and then we'll have some discussion. Saitam atulyubana karma banair Prattu puro marma sutaditopi Swayam dhanurdvari nidayamayam Gatavyata yad urmanayanaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus being pierced by arrows through his ears and afflicted to the core of his heart, Vidura placed his bow on the door and quit his brother's palace. He was not sorry, for he considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord is never perturbed by an awkward position created by the external energy of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 3.27, it is stated, Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. A conditioned soul is absorbed in material existence under the influence of different modes of external energy. Absorbed in the false ego, he thinks that he is doing everything by himself. The external energy of the Lord, the material nature, is fully under the control of the Supreme Lord, and the conditioned soul is fully under the grip of the external energy. Therefore, the conditioned soul is fully under the control of the law of the Lord. But due to illusion only, he thinks himself independent in his activities. Duryodhana was acting under such influence of the external nature by which he would be vanquished at the ultimate end. He could not accept the sound advice of Vidura, but on the contrary, he insulted that great soul who was the well-wisher of his whole family. Vidura could understand this because he was a pure devotee of the Lord. In spite of being very strongly insulted by Duryodhana's words, Vidura could see that Duryodhana, under the influence of Maya, the external energy, was making progress on the path toward his own ruination. He therefore considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme. Yet he also saw how the internal energy of the Lord helped him in that particular situation. A devotee is always in a renounced temperament because the worldly attractions can never satisfy him. Vidura was never attracted by the royal palace of his brother. He was always ready to leave the place and devote himself completely to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Now he got the opportunity by the grace of Duryodhana, and instead of being sorry at the strong words of insult, he thanked him from within because it gave him the chance to live alone in a holy place and fully engage in the devotional service of the Lord. The word gatha vyataha, without being sorry, is significant here because Vidura was relieved from the tribulations which trouble every man entangled in material activities. He therefore thought that there was no need to defend his brother with his bow because his brother was meant for ruination. Thus he left the palace before Duryodhana could act. Maya, the supreme energy of the Lord, acted here both internally and externally. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jananjana Shalaka Chakshusanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Garoti Vachalam Pangum Langete Girim Yatkipatamam Vande Shri Gurum Dena Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So once again, thus being pierced by arrows through his ears and afflicted to the core of his heart, Vidura placed his bow on the door and quit his brother's palace. He was not sorry, for he considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme. If you remember yesterday, we actually continuing from yesterday's verse 13, where Vidura tells Dhritarashtra to get rid of his son, Duryodhana. And so Duryodhana was listening and he was very angry. So when he got so angry that he started to chastise both Krishna and Vidura very harshly. And what he said was, which is, he told his brother, or he told his own uncle, right? He said, "Who asked you to come here?" Or rather, he didn't directly say to him, he was speaking to his father, "Who asked this guy to come here? Who asked him, And then he said, "This is a son of a kept mistress." But that wasn't the case, actually. So he was very offensive. And he was also saying that Vidura was like a spy for their enemies. So he considered his own cousins, who are very glorious, the Pandavas, to be his enemies. So he was saying, this guy, he's crooked, he's a spy, he's our enemy, and ever since we were young, this Vidura is against us, And so he said, throw him out, leave him on, just, manhandle him, chuck him down, and then that is what he deserves. That's how he wanted to be treated. So when Vidura heard that, then he felt really hurt, because you will feel the same way in your own lives, right? When you are trying to help someone, and then they turn around and accuse you of a person who's bringing them down. I'm sure some of you have experienced it, maybe not everyone, but we all experience it, because in some form or fashion, we try to help people, and sometimes they accept the help, sometimes they are not happy with the help. Oftentimes you try to guide people, they will say, yes, thank you for your guidance, but behind your back, they'll go and complain. I remember one time I was asked actually by this new devotee, who was saying, please help me, you are the senior devotee. They were like glorifying and then saying, you should tell me, I'm cooking, so come and taste the prasadam and then tell me what to improve and so on. So then I did that, and then I found some issues with the cooking. They had burnt a few items and they were rushing, they came late. And so when I highlighted all that, they became very, quiet at first, and they say, okay, I will try to do my best. So then it happened a few times, and I was reluctant actually, but they kept insisting for my advice. And so I thought, okay, this person wants to learn. So I was advising them. And then later on, another devotee came to me and said, this person is going around complaining about you. And I say, about what? And they say, and this devotee was saying that you are always fault finding. I was shocked, and I was like, what? And the person wanted me. So I recollected the whole incident, and I was explaining to this other devotee, this person wanted my opinion, and that's why I was trying to help them. And they were not good cooks, and, and so I'm trying to help them. And they were unwilling to actually accept my comments. And yes, I was hurt. Yes, I was hurt. And it's not something, that it is not that because we are devotee, we won't get hurt. We will be hurt. And just like here, Vidura also felt, that his heart or his heart was affected. And so, he felt like the arrows were shooting. So I also felt hurt. And then I decided there and then that, I will never comment to this devotee, because they are not truthful in their relationship with me. But I'm their well-wisher. I will wish them well, but I will not say. So since then, I will not go to the to take prasadam, and they would come later on. You never came for prasadam. You never took. I said it's okay. My diet has changed. I'm being strict. And that was better, because then I don't have to say anything, and they didn't feel hurt and so on. So sometimes it's difficult when we want to help people. We have to be very careful. And I learned my lesson that when anyone asks opinions or comments from me, I want to know exactly where they stand and what is their relationship with me. Do they really want my advice, or they're just asking for the sake of asking, So I've learned a lesson in that way, and I'm cautious in how I also phrase my comments, but I want to be truthful. And most of you know, I say openly, I don't like that messing around business or, making someone feel good just because they want to feel good. No, if it's wrong, I'll call a spade spade. So that's how it was. So in this case, Vidura, he felt hurt, and he took it as a positive thing. And we all should also learn from that, to take things in the positive way. So as I mentioned, I also was asking myself, what should I have done and how would I approach? And that's what I was saying to all of you, that I'm more cautious. I would like to know the person better. and I will inquire further about them, and if they are genuine or serious, and then I would like to actually guide such people. Otherwise, it's a lose-lose situation. It's not a win-win situation. So we learn and we move on, because the whole idea of Krishna consciousness is to go back to Godhead. The idea is to learn how to love the devotees, and ultimately learn how to love Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport how, in this case, Vidura is a pure devotee, how he is also put into an awkward situation. But a pure devotee never gets disturbed. You and I, we are not at that level, but we have to practice. We have to practice, meaning we may react, in the beginning we may react sometimes in a very violent way. And then as time goes on, we realize we shouldn't be reacting in that way. So then we may become less aware, or more aware of how we are reacting. And then the next time we may react less. And then ultimately, after a few months or years of consciously thinking through before speaking, we become more and more peaceful in our attitude toward others, And so, which means we can understand this devotee is affected by the modes, and therefore they are expressing it through the modes. And as a devotee, we shouldn't be involved with the three modes. As Krishna tells Arjuna, Nistraya Guna Bhava Arjuna, rise above the three modes. So Prabhupada says, pure devotee is never disturbed and by the external energy. Unlike the conditioned devotees, or not devotees, conditioned souls, they are always influenced by the modes, and sometimes because of the way the modes act on them, they take on the persona of that reaction, either through the mode of passion, ignorance, or goodness. Ultimately, it's a false ego, because it's identifying. Identifying, I am like this, I'm reacting like this, I am going after this, they are after me, and I am going to do this to them. And so those are under the false ego. And Prabhupada quotes this verse, Prakriti Kriyamaneni Gunai Karmani Sarvasa Ahankara Vimudatma Kartamiti Manyate. It's a very important verse for devotees to know, because the soul actually is not physically doing any activities. So you may ask, then who's doing it? The soul actually is doing, right? When I say doing, not in a physical way, but he desires certain things. Right, so like you desire to eat something, then you'll get up to go and cook that. It's actually the soul is desiring, and then through the faculty of the body and the three modes, and the demigods and the material energy and the Lord in the heart who's sanctioning it, we can then stand up, walk, and do it. But actually, the soul is in the heart; he is just sitting there, desiring it. And so he functions through the external body to fulfill his desires. And the material nature helps him do that. So this is actually the false ego. And so he thinks, I am doing it. And that's how he gets attached to things. I am doing this. But actually, the material energy is doing it under the sanction of the Supreme Lord. The Lord sanctioned it. He sanctions, most of our actions are sanctioned. Otherwise, it's not possible to do anything. The material energy is under the control, as Prabhupada says, under the control of the Supreme Lord. And the desires of the jiva, or you and I, when we desire something, the material energy cannot act immediately. The Lord must sanction first. And then once he sanctions it, then the material energy acts on our behalf. And this technology is amazing because even nowadays people are trying all those things, right? They put on the exoskeleton. So I was reading many years ago that some people have, they cannot walk because of their spinal injuries. So then the scientists are creating some probes into the brain, and then they can connect to this exoskeleton. So by thinking the skeleton external, like a robot, you can get up and walk, but actually physically they cannot do it. But through the impulses on the external frame, metal frame, they can move and walk. So technology is amazing in terms of science and so on, but it's not as good as Krishna's technology. So you can see how amazing Krishna's technology is. He directly doesn't get involved, but he uses his energies to help this living entity to wanting to enjoy independent of the supreme personality of Godhead. Now, of course, that's one aspect of it. Now, Srila Prabhupada also says that we should understand that everything in this material world is acting actually under the Lord's supervision. Maya Dekshana Prakriti Suyate Sa Charachara. He sees under my supervision, the material energy is acting. It's not otherwise, it's under the Lord's supervision. The material energy is acting. Sometimes modern or scientists and many people who do not have this knowledge, they're thinking everything is going on its own, but we can see through reading the scriptures, and we can see how wonderfully everything is connected. Why we are having this reaction. So nowadays people are saying why the climate is so bad. It's basically due to sinful reactions. The entire country is so sinful, and therefore you have some reactions. And they say like, well, we look through, there's a cycle, every 100 years it happens and so on. But maybe every 100 years people are very sinful also. And then they realize, and then they get better, and then again they become sinful. When there is no proper guidance, people will do nonsense. If I was reading an article where the person was discussing about the exodus of the Jews from the Egypt, and when Moses was leading them, and then at one point Moses said he wanted to go up to the mountain or something, and at that time, when Moses went away, the local the people who he told to wait at the bottom of the mountain, they started to do their own thing. They started to have their own party, and then they were not following any rules. And then they started worshipping a statue of a ram, I think a golden ram. And so when Moses came later, then they had to stop that and destroy it and so on. The point is, when there's no strong leaders, leaders who are guiding people properly, by nature, people will do what their senses want. They look for sense enjoyment. The closest thing for their happiness is sense gratification. True happiness is seldom understood because you need great souls, qualified people to tell you there's a higher level of joy you can experience, but not through the senses. And so in this case, we can see how when Vidura is trying to help his family members come to a higher consciousness, people like Duryodhana who see or who feel happiness through their material possessions, through their senses, cannot accept those things. And Prabhupada says he is because he's under the influence of the material energy. Both the material energy, Maya, and the spiritual energy is Yoga Maya. So these two energies, actually Maya is a subset of Yoga Maya. When we approach Krishna, then Maya transforms to Yoga Maya. When you are a pure devotee, you're completely under Yoga Maya. But when we go away from Krishna, then Yoga Maya transforms to Mahamaya, or the material energy. What is the purpose of the material energy? The purpose of material energy is to actually give us trouble. In one sense, we can't see it, but that is the nature of this material world. Krishna tells this place is dukhalayam ashashvatam, dukkha doshana darshanam. This place is temporary, full of misery, and that's all we can see. The darshan we get. We go outside, we see people are not really happy. It's a false notion to say everyone is completely happy. So that is the nature of the both the material energy and the spiritual energy. In this case, Prabhupada explains how one is external energy, which is Maya, and the internal energy, which is the Yoga Maya. So Vidura is a devotee, and he's showing us how we should be reacting to ups and downs in our life. It's very important also. Mostly, when things don't go right, we only see the negativity in it. This is not good. This person is bad. This whole world is against me. So we see the negative aspect of it. Here Vidura is showing how, because he's a pure devotee, he's showing how he assesses the whole situation. He looked at it, he said, oh, this hurt me a lot. But then he also was thinking there's something more to it. So oftentimes we may go through difficult things in our life, but we should ask ourselves, and it's very important, it should be a practice in our life. We should always ask, what is it that I have to learn? There must be a reason why I'm going through this difficult situation. There must be a reason. Sometimes you may be going through a happy situation. You should also ask, why am I going through so much happiness? Is it because Krishna is pleased with me? Or is there something I'm supposed to learn? It's very important for a devotee to be very careful about such situation, happy or sad, because we are supposed to be neutral. And if you're not neutral, then you get pulled in one way or the other way, thinking, oh, I'm supposed to enjoy. Oh, and why am I suffering? And then again, the material energy covers us. So one should be very careful. And Vidura is showing us how we should view our circumstances in the light of Krishna consciousness. And then we will see that once we can see through a spiritual vision, and then it becomes easy to become detached and not become affected by it. The person can shout at us, and then we can say, I'm so sorry, and then still not feel hurtful towards that person. Rather, we should say, yeah, I did some activities that have caused this person to be unhappy towards me, And then we fix ourselves, and hopefully that the other person will have within their hearts to ask for forgiveness and consider what is good for us and what is good for them, and then we can continue in our journey for Krishna consciousness. Of course, this is within the devotee community, but if it's someone outside, hopefully we can have a decent relationship, at least on that platform. And the other important thing also Prabhupada highlights also is that Vidura was not a person who, after material wealth, possessions, and positions. And so in the same way, we should also understand that because Vidura wasn't attached to these three things, he could also have the intelligence and the capacity to understand that these things are affecting me. Now, if we are pursuing such things, then what happens again is that the external energy can cover us, thinking that I deserve this, I need this position. Why are they taking this away? Again, we get pulled by the energy one way or the other way. And so Vidura is showing that because he was never attracted for the royalty, it was so easy for him to say, hey, I've finished with this. I'm gone. I was hoping and I'm waiting for an excuse. One of the reasons why Vidura did not leave much earlier is because he always felt that his advice was needed by his older brother Dhritarashtra. So sometimes also in our own lives, even among devotee circles or among our own material family or other situation, we may think, oh, I'm needed. You know, I'm so important, and I will show them how to do it. We have to grow also and to understand that, all of us are not a permanent fixture in any situation. We are here for a short while, and we should do the best Krishna conscious activities for the benefit of society or for some other people's benefit, and then move on. So we shouldn't think, oh no, I am here to save the entire world. Sometimes devotees have this notion that they are the only ones who can save everybody. So they try to save their family, and the family members are not willing to listen, and they will keep at it, for years they try. But we have to learn, the lesson is that you can't teach your family members, don't do it. Generally, family members will not listen to their family members unless they are very pious. Then you can see the whole family become Krishna conscious when you try to preach. If they are not pious, they won't learn, and it will only cause pain among the different relationships. So a good lesson to learn from Vidura, not to become so attracted to what we have in our home, in our family. Yes, I have a nice house, I have a nice car, I'm satisfied. If it's going, if the cost becomes too much, I should downsize. One should think like that, right? Sometimes people buy big homes. Devotees have so much money they spend because they want to show off. To other devotees or other friends. Look, I also am wealthy. I'm also, it's like keeping up with the Joneses or keeping up with the Smiths. So they try to keep up with each other. And then they'll buy a house with 6 rooms or, many rooms, and then you find that they may only have 2.5 children, I mean, maybe some, what I'm saying, maybe 3 children or whatever. And in the growing years, they may think, oh, the house is all filled up, everything's fantastic. But after 20 years, the kids want to get out of the house. Mostly, right? They want to go college, and they don't want to be in a college close to their parents, most kids. Because of the way they grow up. So they want to run away. So you find that after 20 years, none of the kids stay at home. And you and your husband, or the husband and the wife, all alone in a big house, empty. So devotees should be very intelligent and think ahead and don't get into all this kind of sucking nonsense, sucks away your life. If you are in that situation, then you should downsize. As soon as the kids go out, downsize, go down to a 2 or 3 bedroom house and be satisfied. It's not going to take you back to Godhead. A big house is not going to fly to Vaikuntha, and you're not going to be in Vaikuntha, Goloka with the same house. If you read, most of the houses are very simple, but in the spiritual world, it's a better building material than this stucco material that you see nowadays. So, in the same way, Gata Vyataha, Prabhupada says, he went away without any becoming sorrowful of the situation. Rather, a devotee, as a pure devotee, he was relieved. He was thinking, oh, so much trouble this situation is. I cannot help my brother. Now I'm going for my pilgrimage. And therefore, he left. Thanking, in a sense, he thanked Duryodhana. And Prabhupada uses the word, he got the opportunity by the grace of Duryodhana. All right, so Duryodhana was negative, but we have to see what's the positive. The positive is he helped Vidura renounce quickly and get out from the war. By putting down the weapon, he's indicating, I'm not interested in this Kurukshetra battle. So in the same way, we don't want to be fighting this material energy. We fight it to become Krishna conscious, but not fight to enjoy it. Okay, so it's almost 8:15. Oh, maybe it's not, it's only 10 here. Huh? I was thinking I had said enough. I will open it for the devotees to make some comments, right? Yeah.
Devotees, please unmute and ask questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hi, Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I had one question from previous classes and connecting to this class. So when you're like when I'm chanting, and this came from contemplating when you said mind always cheats us. So when I'm chanting, things come up. Sometimes it's like a spiritual idea, like, oh, I should do this or do that. Most of the time, it's something to do with like work or something material, like family related. How do we know, Prabhu, if that is, sometimes it truly is a good idea. Sometimes I don't know. How do we know if at that point whether the mind is actually cheating us or if it's something it's truly reliable that when we're chanting, if something comes up, it's something we should pay more attention to and give thought to.
It's a good, nice question. Thank you. In the conditioned state, the mind is always cheating us. Okay, so you should understand that. In general, it'll cheat us. So that's the first thing. The second thing you need to understand is if you can control your mind, then the mind becomes your friend. Krishna says that to Arjuna in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. How do you know whether it's good or not? In the beginning, it's very hard to distinguish because everything the mind will supply to you, it may appear to be very important. And therefore you think, oh, this, I have to do this and I have to do that. What you need to realize is your chanting is your time. It's between you and Krishna. Okay? So when you understand that clearly, okay, this is my time, then the mind, even if it disturbs, you pause and say, not now, I'm not going to pay attention. My focus. So, for example, let's say you give yourself 1 hour to chant. And then in that 1 hour, the mind will cheat and try to drag you away with so many other important issues. So you can say, no, after this 1 hour, you can disturb me. Yeah. So after a series of practices like this, it may take a year or it may take your entire life, but it will take time. And then the mind will slowly give in to you, the soul. Not the mind is no more the leader. You, the soul, with your intelligence, control this mind. All right? And then the mind will slowly become spiritual or spiritualized, So this giving yourself that time to chant as your time and nothing else is very important. You shouldn't even look at your computer or your cell phone, put the cell phone on the altar and let the Lord take care of it. And then you make sure you don't look at the laptop, have your separate room to chant and just chant. Of course, if there's an urgency, if there's really some urgency, people will come looking for you. So otherwise, there's nothing urgent in this world, So you shouldn't feel that there's something urgent going to come up. At most, you miss 1 hour, that's all, or 2 hours, Yeah. Okay, I hope that helps in the way to chant, Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Thank you. Good question. Yeah. Anyone else? Everyone else is. Yes, Radha Damodar.
Hare Krishna. So one question, I'm always trying to understand the significance of external energy versus internal energy. I mean, I understand both are the differences, but why do we keep bringing it up, and how does it matter? I mean, it's
Why
all
do we bring it up?
yeah, how it's all Krishna's energy either way. So
Yeah, one, if you try to, well, what you need to understand is they have two different roles to play, right? The internal energy of Krishna takes you to Krishna. The external energy's job is to keep you away from Krishna. So if you become Krishna conscious, the external energy will test you, and that's her job. How serious you are. So sometimes you find someone taking initiation, after a couple of months, they'll run away, they'll come to, let's say they're Buddhists, and so they become a devotee, and then after 6 months, like it, they go back to their Buddhism. So they are nonsense, these people, which means two things: they did not understand what they were getting into, or they thought this is just another fad. But in reality, they are covered by the external energy. And so you understand this person is under the modes of material nature. And therefore, you become aware that I should not be covered by such things. I should not be influenced by this. So you take more precautions. Otherwise, you will also become like that. You will also start to doubt the process. You not only doubt the process, you will also associate with people who are not Krishna conscious. So this is why you should know what is the external energy. Sometimes the external energy may be represented by a person. So in this particular chapter we are reading, Duryodhana is representing Kali Yuga actually. He's actually an expansion of Kali Yuga, a partial expansion. So by his behavior, he's dragging so many people away from surrendering to Krishna. Okay. So yeah, so you need to know what is external energy and what is internal energy. And everything you use in Krishna's service become, potentially they become spiritualized. Okay. Even the material things can become spiritualized. Because that is the nature of the Lord. The Lord's potency is very powerful. Yeah. I hope that answers your
yes,
question.
yes.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yes, Satyarupa Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare.
Thank you. Nice class. Prabhu, so Vidura knows everything. He knows Dharma and all. He is personification of Dharmaraj. And why he did came to know in a hard way, we should not teach to relatives. That is
No, you can teach your relatives if they are pious, but otherwise you should be careful how you teach. I wasn't saying you can't teach. It's just it's a challenge. Yeah. And your question why Vidura took so long, because he's a well-wisher of his family. Yeah. And the other reason is Vidura, if you remember yesterday I explained, Vidura was asked to be born as a Shudra. All right. So as a Shudra, he's forced to then experience the difficulties. Nobody listens to a Shudra, right?
Yes.
So that's one of the things, even though his brother looks up to him in many ways, his brother always fails him. Dhritarashtra always fails him. But eventually, Vidura comes back, and then finally his brother surrenders to him, accepts him as a spiritual master, and takes directions from Vidura. Yeah. But at this moment, before the war, Dhritarashtra is completely confused. And in a sense, he realizes also that that the Lord is playing a game, but at the same time, he's willing to be part of that game. He's taking risks. And so this is what external energy does, making you think you can get away with it. Yeah. And for Vidura, he needed to go through that also so that he can also, feel completely satisfied in his heart that I did my best. Now these people don't want to listen and I can freely go. Otherwise, he felt he has some obligation to his siblings, or in this case, to his brother or his family members. Yeah. So that was the way I understood in reading Prabhupada's purports. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for asking. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the nice class. My question is, Prabhuji, like when we are doing the chanting at the Brahma Muhurta hours, I feel somewhat good. I won't say, like it's not really great, but, I feel good. But during the daytime, when the work starts and we involved with other things, it is really dragging down from the feeling what I had in the Brahma Muhurta time. And, is there any tip, that at least, I can maintain certain percentage of it from the Brahma Muhurta time to till this evening, or, how do I?
Okay, so you want to have that experience of Brahma Muhurta throughout the day.
Exactly.
Okay, then you should finish all 16 rounds before you start the day.
I do, Prabhuji. I finish 6:30, around 6:30, I finish everything.
Okay, then after that, do you do some kirtan or reading?
Yeah, I do reading, and then, I start my work around 7:30. Then, it goes to till 5 o'clock, 5:30. Then, I do some devotional
All right,
services.
then after that, you should think whatever you're doing it as a service for Krishna. Okay, in that mood, you will feel that the service may be difficult or easy, but you're serving Krishna. So that way you will not feel disturbed. Ultimately, you have to approach the material energy in a neutral way. So to get to that kind of consciousness, you have to approach it as a devotee of Krishna. If you are approaching the material energy thinking, maybe you chant, but then when you come to your daily material work, you are approaching it maybe as a Purusha. So that consciousness need to change, and maybe you don't know. It could be very subtly affecting you. And therefore, because you're practicing nicely also, you're feeling unhappiness. That's one thing. The second thing is because you are doing very nicely your service and everything, Krishna is showing you everything else is not as good as a devotional service. So that's the other feeling you're actually feeling. So maybe, but you have duties for your family members and so on. So rather than letting that feeling affect you, you should think, now I can understand this is not what I should be doing, but I'm doing it as a service for Krishna, my spiritual master, and my family. And until they are free to be on their own, I will do this service. And when I've done my duties, I can get away from this and focus 100% on Krishna, so that I'm always in Brahma Muhurta.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Yes, Umesh.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, very nice class. This is about your example of you helping a new devotee. So, in ISKCON, we say, help devotees, right? And generally, we come from a culture wherein selfless help is taught. But I found myself that, we get into troubles. I help a lot of devotees, but then sometimes they ask for help more than I could do. Sometimes they ask for help in legal matters. And sometimes, they just misuse the help. But how do I balance? Because I don't want to be selective.
Right. I think if you're thinking about from your work point of view, you can say you can give the first hour for free, right? Or you can say, I'll give you legal advice up to a certain point only. After that, you have to come to my office and we will work out a contract. So then it becomes balanced. Otherwise, you will be helping all devotees and they don't appreciate it properly. But if you can say, look, you need to see a lawyer, you need to do these things without going too much into detail, you can give an overview of the thing. But if they want more details, you can say, unless they cannot afford it, if you want to help them, that is up to you. But if you know they are okay, they can afford it, then you can say, I'll charge so much, but for a devotee, I'll give you a discount, 10%, 20%, up to you. But that's how you approach. Then it's balanced. Then they know they have to pay, and so they'll think twice before disturbing you unnecessarily. So yeah. So your time is precious also. They should also understand that. And then if they want more than what you're willing to help, right, then they should pay for it. And there's nothing wrong with asking for them to pay for it. Yeah. Unless, of course, they are very poor. Right? Yeah.
And thank you so much, Prabhuji. And how do I still be genuine, right, in helping? Because I'm not helping because I want money. I'm not helping because, this help takes me somewhere. So I want to stay genuine, but also not bring my family into troubles because of helping something that beyond my capabilities.
Yeah, I guess you need to see the type of help that is required, where you can freely do it without any other external forces behind you. Then those things you can do freely. But I guess what you need to do is you need to draw a line between, for example, if you're a lawyer, the legality aspect should be more of a job oriented, and then in temple situation it should be free. I want to do for Krishna, like that. Yeah. Oh, you want to show you're very sincere and genuine, go out on books. Like that. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else?
Radha Krishna Prabhu, I have one other question if nobody else wants one.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't think anyone else is.
Prabhuji, you mentioned the other day about how, any moment that we spend in material consciousness, we are building our body, right?
Yeah.
And, contemplating on that, like before I came into Krishna consciousness, I feel like I've built a very large body. How do we, and thinking about that, and then thinking about how many other bodies we've created in past lifetimes.
Yes.
How do we balance that with like almost the feeling of like this is part of it is giving me hope in the sense that okay, we have to be sincere and you have to be sincere to progress, but the other part of it is it seems daunting, right? It seems like, well, I've spent many lifetimes doing something, and even this life I've spent time doing something that I'm not supposed to. How do we balance that?
I think first of all, you should understand that, yeah, I did many things that is not good in many lifetimes. Yeah. But now I know, right? So you should become joyful that now I know. I don't have to worry anymore. I have come to this path now, and I can stop building my bodies for the future life. Having said that, so your subtle body is there. Pure devotional service has some effects. It's called Subhada and Kleshagni, right? As soon as you do it purely for the pleasure of Krishna with no selfish motive, as soon as you do it, even now when you're doing it, two things will happen. One is Kleshagni. What is Kleshagni? That those past sinful activities, generally our prarabdha karma, is slowly being wiped away by the Lord. Okay. And then the other thing is you will find also that you become happier, Shubhada. So that aspect will take place. You become happy, and you can create auspiciousness for others, or rather others will see you as an auspicious person or their well-wisher. And so every time you think of people's welfare, you tell them this is good for you to do. You're not forced to do, but it's good if you can do, you'll benefit from that. And so people will see you in a positive light. And as you are helping others, again, Krishna's reciprocation with you will increase. And then slowly but surely, the subtle body is annihilated, and then you don't have to come back anymore. Yeah. But that's how we should see that there's always going to be issues. As long as we are in this material world, we are always going to have a lot of different devotees going through different types of difficulties. And like in your case, you're thinking, I've done so many things. What about now? Am I okay or not? As soon as you take the process, Krishna puts you on a fast track. It's up to us whether we want to remain in the fast track or stop and get out of the fast track and then wander in this material universe. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. That
Yeah.
makes it very clear.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone else? If all of you are satisfied, I ask you all permission to leave.
Prabhu, one
more question? Yeah.
Keshapani Prabhu, your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Turn on your video.
So Hare Krishna, Guruji. So say leading to the same question as Prashant Prabhu said. So the chanting will like the fast track you mentioned just now. So that will wipe away all the bad karma accumulated from the millions of years that body developed. So the fast track, the solution is chant sincerely and do service.
Yes.
Right. So,
yeah, that's it. It's actually a very simple process. Yeah. The process is simple. We make it difficult. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, Guru. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We want to give a small thank you note. Prashant Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for your association today. Thank you for taking us through Vidura's situation and the lessons we can learn. The points that I liked were we have to see kind of the big picture and have neutral mindset, especially when dealing with like devotees who have or devotees or not devotees, and we shouldn't have any. If something happens, we shouldn't have any ill will towards them. And in the material world, it's dukkhalayam ashashvatam, so it's going to happen. And then the other thing that you mentioned is Vidura's case. It's in any situation we have to make the best of that situation and move on, and it shouldn't get attached to the situation or what's in the situation, and get stuck in the material world. So thank you, Prabhu, for the nice class.
Thank you. Nice summary. I couldn't have said it better. Okay. So, all right. Thank you, everyone, for your time. And I pray that you have a very good day, and we'll see you either today for evening program, or we'll see you tomorrow around 9 p.m. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. His Grace Radha Krishna Prabhu ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
devotee.
Krishna.
Thank you
Hare
for your time.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.